This technique is our finger come along. Okay. Now, we are going to start it at a 2.5 position. So let's just kind of look at a few things first. Okay. So Mr. Sylvain would have you remember that facing straight on is position number 1. A 45-degree angle to the side is 1.5. If I was standing directly beside would be 2. 45-degree angle to the rear, 2.5. Standing directly behind would be 3. And I always trick my students. What would this position be? And they say 3.5. No, we're back to 2.5, just that we're on the opposite side. Now, one of the other things I want you to think about when we are facing each other, okay, is how close we are. So we always talk about somebody's reach and them being able to punch. But in reality, what I want you to think about is how far is the kick. So it's not always worried about their punching ability, but more worried about how far they can kick. So if we are standing in front of somebody, I want you to think 2 arms length away. So if my partner puts his arm up, look, we're not 2 arms length away. So I want to be at least this position here if I am engaged and talking to somebody. All right? So a little bit on distance, but we'll have more on distance and specifically time and distance and action and reaction. Now, the second piece to our come-alongs is which side do I want to approach on if you have the choice. If I know my individual that I'm going to be doing this to, that's going to give me a really good idea. If I don't, I'm going to suggest that you approach on the right-hand side. You should know both, and I'll explain why, but we want to approach on the right-hand side. And the reason for that is that most of the population is right-handed. And you're probably asking, so what? Well, if somebody is armed, okay, if they have a knife on them or something like that, those are weapons that are typically used with somebody's dominant hand. So just think, some of us wear a knife for work. Some of us carry a knife with us all the time, or an improvised weapon. Where do you carry it? You carry it so that it's used with your dominant hand. So anywhere from the center line to the rear hip where you can grab onto it. So if I approach and I grab this individual on the left, he's right-handed and has a weapon, okay, then they're going to be able to draw that and use it. I want to be able to neutralize and control the hand that is the dominant hand. Now, we may not always be able to know that, so that's why I say approach on the right-hand side, because most of the population is right-handed. If you have the ability where you maybe work security or you've been surveilling somebody as part of your job, you may know what hand they are. And how would you determine that? Well, what hand do they use their keys with? Okay? What hand do they, if they are smokers, what hand do they smoke with? If you are a loss prevention officer and you're working in a store, what hand are they taking groceries or items off the shelf with? Okay? So just things that you want to observe. Okay, so here we go. So finger come along. I am approaching on the right-hand side. Okay? So the hand that is closest right away is going to go and grab the pinky and ring finger. My outside hand is going to come and turn his hand this way. So my fingers go into the meaty part of his thumb, and my thumb is on the back of his hand. And I'm going to shin kick at the same time. So I come in with my hands up in the event he sees me coming, hears me coming. Maybe my partner is there and gives away my approach. So as I come in, 1. And right away, I want to start applying pressure to those fingers. I don't want this loose so he turns around and punches me with the other hand, I want to drive that on here first, okay? So let's look at that again. So I'm coming in, thumb, fingers, shin kick, foot to the front, and look, I'm driving this. Now, the hand that's on the thumb is going to come up to the elbow. I pull on the fingers, pull on the elbow, and I stick it underneath my arm. My hand then goes from his elbow back to the wrist, and I crank the wrist this way. I drive my elbow down, okay? The motion I'm doing with the fingers is I'm making a fist around them. Try not to trigger finger them back this way. Make a fist. You'll find that 10 times more effective than just pulling back on the fingers. So 1, apply, up, in, here, turn. Now he has another hand. Put your hand on top of your head. Do it now. And now, because it's a come-along, we need to escort them out to whichever area we're going. One of the things I want you to think about is, if they are complying, we don't need maximum pressure on the fingers, okay? A little bit of reward. Don't release the hold, but you don't have to have pressure on as much as you would right at the beginning. You'll also know when they're on their toes that that is the pain area, okay? So again, we control both hands. One physically, one verbally. We want to know where that other hand is, so he's not reaching for something. He's not turning around and going to punch us. So let's look at this one more time. So my hands are up. I'm coming in from that 2.5 position. I grab fingers, shin kick to the front. Up. Pull on the fingers, pull on the elbow. Grab the wrist, turn it. Make that fist with the other fingers. Put your hand on top of your head, do it now. And then we walk them away. Now, once we've walked them to where we want, what do? Just let them go, right? I don't want them to turn around and punch me. If I'm with somebody else, they open the door, I escort them out, close the door. If I'm trying to, control them and keep them until somebody else comes and helps me, well, let's look at it something like this. Get down on one knee, do it now. Get down on the other knee. So look, I'm leaning, I have him here, put your hand down on the ground. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to let go. I'm going to turn his hand up, elbow, and drag him to the ground. Okay, let's look at that again. So we have our finger come along here. Okay, we're at the point where we want. He's outside. I want him down so I can get away, right? Or I'm going to control him until other people come, because at some point, the pain is not going to matter to him, right? He's going to get an adrenaline dump. He's going to want to fight. So I want to get him down into a different position, take his mobility away. So slowly, get down on one knee. Get down on the other knee. And look, I come down with him. I don't hold him this way. I move down with him. Put your hand on the ground. I let go. I still have his fingers. I turn the hand up, apply pressure to the back of the tricep, and I'm going to shuffle to the side. Right? Now from here, we can transition into a different type of after throw control. All right. So that is our finger come along. We've given you a lot of explanation and a lot of key teaching points in there, right? Now the other part is we need to be able to do this from the left-hand side. What happens if we are in a hallway? What happens if there is a car right here? Okay, maybe he's leaning up against the wall and I'm security and I need to move him along. So same idea, we need to know how to do this on both sides. Put your hand on top of your head, do it now. We walk them away, get down on one knee, get down on the other knee. Put your hand down on the ground. Okay, I turn and I pull. So make sure that you are practicing both sides. So that's our finger come along.